Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at basic color correction. And, for example, if we go from this shot with these nice rich blacks over here to this feels kind of hazy and washed out. This is also significantly more blue and purple than that one. So we could try to kind of get a little bit of a palette. If we look at some of these other, I'm just going to turn off the audio for now. If we look at some of these other ones, like this is pretty yellow, which is kind of a little out of the palette. This is really rich, where this is like a little washed out. And that's already been color corrected, but we can, by default, could be a little richer, like have a little bit of this kind of inky kind of thing. Anyway, and by correcting the color or adjusting the color, another word for that is grading the color, you can kind of create a little more cohesion in your edit. So what we need to do, I guess the easiest thing to do is just go to this color tab here, which will load Lumetri Color, which is this plugin that Premiere uses to do color correction. There's other color correction things, but this is fine. And the other thing we're going to need, let's see if I reset this. There we go. We need a scope for sure. And so what a scope is it's like levels on cocaine. So on the x-axis, you have basically it's reflecting the colors across the image on the x, and then mapping them on this little chart here. And on 0 you have black, and on 100 you have white. And what's cool is it kind of lets you see the exposure of the clip, right? It lets you see where there's more kind of colors than others. You see like this is like kind of dominantly green. This is more like a bluey green. You can kind of just see it in the scope there, which is really handy. So what we're looking for in general when we're grading, and this is true in Photoshop too, is all else being equal, it's nice if there's a little bit of black and a little bit of white. When things go past white or past black, you're kind of losing detail, especially in the white. Sometimes there's, that's just what's in the plate. There's nothing you can do about it. But sometimes it can be nice to kind of push the contrast a little bit. So this I would say is just a touch underexposed. This, see, there's nothing actually going down to the black, so there's a little richness that's being lost. The highlights are pretty nice. So there are a million different ways to go about this here. Let's just look at a couple. All right, so probably the most intuitive one. Let's find a plate that needs a little love. Maybe this one. All right, so I'm going to select that. Probably the most intuitive is this color wheel thing. So what this does is this addresses the lightness or darkness of the midtones, lightness or darkness of shadows, lightness or darkness of highlights. And then this, you can pull it to weight it towards a different part, a specific part of the spectrum. So if I want to make the midtones more pinky, I can drag them towards the pink. So let's see here. I noticed that the blacks, which are over here, aren't actually hitting black. So let's bring down the blacks a lot. And see, and now we're starting to get these like richer colors. All right. Cool. And then if I want everything to be a little bit blue or purpley, I can just grab this and pull it towards that part of the color wheel. And what that does is, see, now these two shots feel a little bit more in the same palette, right? And these little things like this kind of make a huge difference. So the color wheels are probably the most straightforward. Let's look at another way to go about this. Let's look at this one. Nice colors in it, but once again, there's not enough black. So we'll do a different thing this time. So we can grab, so what this is, is, let's see how to describe this. The x-axis is the colors coming in, and the y-axis is the colors coming out. So what I can do is I can move this line around. Try to move this line around. I have to select it. Boom, there we go. Select it, and then I can move this line around and remap color. So see what that's doing? So I'm pulling those colors into the dark. And that's pretty neat. I can also make this kind of classic shape, which is called an S-curve, which kind of boosts the contrast in the plate. If I want to suck contrast out, I can do a reverse S. But basically, I'm taking the colors that are coming in and mapping them to a different output color with this function curve here, which is pretty awesome. And you can really dial in kind of look you want. So I think that looks way better. Now, sometimes when you manipulate the contrast, it might make the saturation look a little unnatural. So I'm just going to style that back just a touch, so it feels a little bit more consistent. And then this, a little bluer than this one. Here, let's do, so anyway, color correction is, here's another way, okay? So here's basic correction. This one, we can say, okay, it's a little underexposed, right? And can be a little more contrast, which see is opening it up. And then we can take saturation out. So pick your poison. If I'm not in Premiere, in most programs I basically do levels and curves are my favorite, but the color wheels are a really nice way to kind of pull the palette to a different spot. Like if I want these greens to be a little bluer green to match that earlier clip, I can do that, and I can get the leaves to feel like they're more in the same forest. This might be like too blue. Slightly different, warmer. Right. And then this shot, lacking some contrast. And then, the scope is going to help you kind of see what's happening. All right, so have fun with this. I think it's one of the most fun things. you can do. So in that other one, we brought the blacks in. We can also do the same thing with the whites, right? You can bring the whites up like that. And bring a little contrast. Okay, so that's basic color correction using Lumetri color and a scope.